Thanks, guys. Well, welcome back. Thanks for coming back. For those of you who have made it, our numbers appear a bit depleted, but I congratulate your stamina for those of you that are here. We've got a terrific panel for you. It's a real privilege for me to moderate it today. And we're going to be talking a little bit around the subject of connected customers and how we own and nurture relationships in an increasingly complicated hospitality landscape. So, in recent years, we've witnessed nothing short of a seismic change in the way in which our customers plan, book, eat, and share. Now, you can call it disruption, you can call it intermediation, or simply better data, more accessible through new technology. But the relationship between customers and hospitality brands is more opaque than ever. So the question for us really is, as an industry, do we understand the implications of this change, and have we adapted to respond to it in this changing landscape? So who knows? Luckily my panel do, or so they've assured me. So I'm going to just introduce them quickly. They are a world-class panel of industry leaders. Our first panelist is Director of Industry Relations at TripAdvisor, an organisation who have done more to connect customers with each other than any other, and who are now increasingly involved in the booking process. I'm delighted to introduce you to Helena Egan. Staying online for the moment, we're lucky enough also to be joined by Terry Scriven, who I know many of you know, Industry Head of Hospitality for Google. Now, Terry works with hotels, accommodation providers, and OTAs to help them sell more rooms online. And if you want to know more about Terry or Google, you know where to find it. Our next panelist that was a joke. Google search. Okay. Work with me a bit, guys. Come on. Okay. Our next panelist represents Global Hospitality Services, who provide sales and marketing expertise to hotel groups and independents based around technology platforms and analytics. Varun Kapoor, ladies and gentlemen, on the end there. Thank you very much. And then representing Discover Financial Services with 20 years experience in the card and payments industry. Our next panelist is no stranger to customer service and experience, particularly in this industry. I'm pleased to introduce you to Lisa Bell, sitting next to Varun there. And then finally, a veteran in the industry, again well known to many of you, Professor Demetrios Bouhalis is head of the Department of Tourism and Hospitality at Bournemouth University. He's written and edited more than 20 books and is currently working on a new book about European tourism, right?
Yeah.
A work in progress just now, I imagine.
Okay. -1, yeah.
Now, you might notice that there are actually no providers, accommodation or otherwise, on this panel apart from me. Now, as moderator, it's my duty to remain largely impartial and silent. But I will ask your indulgence to interrupt from time to time if the panel becomes a bit unruly or if they're largely unfair. There will be time for questions at the end, so I would encourage you, please, to make sure that your opinion is represented. And if you want to be a bit controversial, then they're a strong bunch of guys with clear opinions, so prod all you like. Okay, clear enough? Jolly good. Let me sit back down. We've been told to speak loudly and clearly given some of the volume issues, so if you're wondering why you've got a panel yelling at you, then we maybe took it to heart a little too much. So let me start and just ask a broad question about who actually owns the customer relationship, whether it's platforms or providers, or if it's both or neither, then what will it take for us to play nicely together? And if I ask that first to Helena and then maybe Terry to get your opinion afterwards. Helena, what do you think?
I think it's really, you can't own your brand anymore either. It's out there, and the whole digitalization and online has changed things a lot. But I think one of the things that really annoys me about owning customer is, and I say this with a lot of love to hoteliers, I used to work in a hotel myself, is when you have the opportunity to own the customer, do you actually act on it? I travel a lot on business, as we all do, and I use a corporate travel agent who makes my bookings. And when I arrive to a hotel, I always offer, I said, would you like to have any of my personal details? No, just give me your ID card, your credit card, we're done. Get to your room. And I'm thinking, you have the opportunity just to ask for my email address, ask a couple of questions, and they don't. But I'm also kind of turning it around. I'd be really, really curious to hear about from your end as well. What do hotels actually do with that data? So I think the ownership is a strong word, because I think the consumer customer doesn't even want to be owned. And I think it's impossible either way, because the loyalty is also going very, very different direction. Industry looks at loyalty being one of the key things, We just saw recent research, 40% of the industry wants loyalty programs, but a quarter of the customers go, yeah, maybe. So there's a huge discrepancy between there. So I kind of leave it to that. I don't think I could answer. Maybe you can.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think we're very promiscuous creatures, and in terms of who actually owns the consumer, on average, we go to 28 different sites before we ultimately end up on the site we go to book our hotel. We don't go online anymore. We live online. As a result of having these in our hands, we check our phones 150 times a day. You guys, some of you are probably in the audience looking at your phones now. I think it's very much the ability to own that consumer, understand the consumer data, and what you do with it is the ability to own the data, to own the consumer.
So where does loyalty sit then if there is so much promiscuity, as you put it, online, people using a variety of different websites? Is that concept of really owning that end-to-end experience still valid?
I think the only way of keeping the consumer on your side, whatever part of hospitality business you are, is you just have to be fast. You have to test, you have to change. And I think one of the key things to do is don't change things for the advertisers. We're all here to make money, of course. Change the things for the consumer, because if you don't listen to the traveler, I use a lot of sites, of course, when I look at it as well. We all do. And it's if there's delay, if the information isn't there, if you push certain messages that isn't relevant, they're quite unforgiving, I think. People nowadays just want it now, and if it's not there, they go away. There's the kind of brand loyalty or business loyalty I don't think really exists anymore.
So how do you keep them, Demetrius? Is it data, or is it connection emotionally or transactionally? What's your view?
I think, first of all, who owns the customer? The customer owns themselves. And who are the customers taking themselves to? Is the people who enable them to co-create value, and value for themselves. So it's all about value. It's all about, do you know about me? And do you treat me in the way I would like to be treated? Some of this stuff is soft, some of this stuff is hard. Some of this is a matter of hardware, some of it is a matter of equipment, some of this is the infrastructure that you've got in your property and you've got in your environment. Some of that is soft, is how do you like to be addressed? Do I like to be addressed as Professor Bouchalis, or do I like to be addressed as Dimitrios? And that may also be changeable. The other thing that, we keep talking about the customer, but actually in travel and tourism, especially in leisure, you are not dealing with one customer. You're dealing with a group of customers. Very few people are traveling on their own. So if Terry here is going away with her kids, it's probably the youngest kid that makes all the decisions for everybody, because that is the person who actually has got most of the needs. So
you're talking about personalization based on understanding preferences, right?
Contextualization I'm talking about. Right. Understanding the context. The context is some of the external environment and some of the internal environment who is traveling. So it's really about understanding what is the context of the traveler, where the traveler is, what is around, and what is the needs of the customers. And how do you add value to these particular needs at this particular moment?
I would like to add something to that. Along with value, there's another word, in my opinion, recognition, which is very important, because you need to recognize your customers. Coming back to the same question, who owns the customer? In my opinion, everyone wants to own the customer, but no one owns the customer. And who has the best opportunity to own the customer? I think it's the hotel who has the best opportunity, because hotel is a place where actually there's a physical interaction between the customer and the guest, the guest and the hotel, and that's where it makes a huge difference, because OTAs do not share the contact details of the customers. It's a fact. Majority of the OTAs do not pass the contact details of the bookers who are booking. Now it's up to the hotel to take that initiative and take that details. As you rightly said, some hotels do that, some hotels don't. Now the hotels who do that, for them it's just maybe a procedure that they are taking it and that's it. But how about utilize it? I'll give you a very good example. Let's say if you check in a hotel, receptionist just say, okay, give me your details, take the details, and that's it. However, if I'm checking into the same hotel next time and the receptionist, rather than taking my details, say, oh, you stayed with us last time. I hope you had a wonderful stay. I hope you're looking for a nice stay this time. We remember that you preferred this room, so we have got you this room. And suddenly you realize that, wow, these people look after us. So next time, I probably won't go onto the booking.com or those things. I'll straight away get onto the website because I know they'll look after me. And that's where the opportunity is.
So if we accept that at least part of the growth of platforms and OTAs has been down to maybe hotels not doing a better job of both recognition, data-driven customer insight, why is that? I mean, have we in hotels or providers in hospitality in the broadest sense just been a bit slow to wake up, or what do you think? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I guess that's our role, in working very closely with hoteliers and tourism companies to help drive more traffic to their websites. Hoteliers are slower, they have been slower. They're kind of waking up now to the realization that they've lost 73% of their bookings, or overall bookings, to the OTAs, and that margin as a result of that. There are now tools out there in terms of the collection of signals, of audience signals and customer data to let the hoteliers win. They can now capitalize on what Varun mentioned, the data that they own, and turn that back around to more personalized marketing so that you win the direct booking. And now you can see since March at ITB and Stop Clicking Around campaigns, the direct booking campaigns, it's now much more real in terms of awareness for consumers to realize we can get the same price. Let's book with the hotel. So now it's giving the hotelier the tools and the data and insight and education they need to win that booking.
But this is before the customer arrives.
Now,
there's another trick that the hoteliers have lost, which is really about when the customer is in the property. When someone goes to the bar and have a drink and starts talking to the barman and say, you know what, my toilet doesn't work. Or where should I go and get a good Chinese meal around here? All this is information that should be fed back into a neural system where the hotel is then addressing that. So the barman should say, okay, your toilet has been fixed because I called the guy and he fixed it while you are here. And here is 3 recommendations of the best Chinese restaurants. And all this information is then going to your file. Next time all this information is in the file and says, this is your preference. We know, and actually next time you're going to another Continental hotel in another place and you say, okay, if you like a good Chinese, here's the best 3 Chinese around the corner.
But I mean, I might argue that's just basic hospitality, right?
Absolutely.
The function of this
Absolutely.
industry is to know your guests and help to anticipate their needs to look after them. So if that's not happening, right? If that's your hypothesis, why not? What have we lost? What have we forgotten about?
Because people are too busy dealing with reports, and people are too busy looking into the operations and process things. And of course, if you've got a 500 rooms property and you've got 350 checkouts, it's a process. Yeah. Can we get these guys out, these guys in? But that's why people like Airbnb start gaining preference, because you're dealing to one-to-one. People start having a human conversation, and the customer then thinks, this person really cares about me.
But I think that takes you back to the fact that even it doesn't matter how great the hotels are. I mean, if you think of how many millions of accommodations, hotels, B&Bs there are around the world, how do you stand out? So the platforms do have, obviously, there has to be someone who aggregates all that data and puts it together. So you found, but I think the responsibility moves there. And we see a lot of properties just not doing the basics. I mean, basics starting before the booking, put your content online, put your images, write your description, put your videos. I mean, they're everywhere. They're not just our platform or Google, they're everywhere. And it's the prioritization. Obviously, you want that booking, you need to make money. We all I'd love to do this for fun, but we're all here to make money in this business. But it also I think, overcomplicating things and things like online reputation management. One of my pet hates is just think of how other people view your business. That's what it's all about. And I think a lot of people move too fast. They think too complicated. And one of the things we always talk about in a lot of the panels is once the guest gets there, just get everyone smiling. It doesn't matter how bad things go as long as you have that. And that's if you think of 5 simple things, they're actually really, really good. But taking back, the hotel has to be found first. And that's where I think, the search platforms and the hotel platforms, accommodation platforms are vital.
It's a knowledge gap too, because I think, hoteliers are in the business to serve guests. on a day in, day out basis and provide that level of service. But when it comes to data or managing their social networks or managing kind of digital marketing, they don't have that expertise. So they outsource it.
So is it worth them, because if you believe that hotels have become a bit distracted in their core capabilities, which is to provide that sort of experience, and now trying to fight on the online space and take back part of the booking process, and arguably that's been a big struggle given the dominance of some of these platforms, the capability that's built in, the sheer financial firepower. Are you maybe suggesting that hotels would be a better job just minding the journey from door to bedroom rather than trying to worry too much about what's online?
No, because
No.
then they'll give up the customer.
In hotel terms, we've got the concierge. When you're in the property, the concierge is presumably taking care of all your needs and delivers. And a good concierge can actually do a brilliant job. I mean, in simple terms, you need an e-concierge on top of the concierge who is looking after you before, during, after. And all this information that's collected is going back to the system and then flows again. It's just as simple as that. But it really needs a little bit of technological capability. It really needs a little bit of big data to come together and be analyzed, and needs the human face with the tablet or whatever. There's a hotel in Lugano in Switzerland that's doing a brilliant job on this, because collect all the information, and next time you arrive, everything is there. Dante. And they immediately
Name drop.
yeah, because they do. It's a case study. You know, we use it as a case study in many of the case studies we do in Bournemouth, because it's really about understanding the customer before, during, after.
Yeah.
Because the customer quite often tells you.
Well, talk on the point of understanding. I mean, Lisa, you must process massive amounts of spend data in your business. I mean, how have you seen sort of customers in our industry, related industries, their spend behaviour changing? You've seen this shift online presumably as well, have you?
Yeah, certainly we have, because they behave like we all behave. I mean, the card is just the form of payment, so they're going to change as well like that, and we've actually changed our marketing to be in line with that now. So what we've done in the past, when it's been a card holder going into a physical environment, like we do a lot of merchant, we talk to our merchants and we do offers that we provide back to our card holders. So they've used to be physically, and now what we're doing is we're starting to use the online space to tell them about offers. So what we'll do is when we see them when they go into our website to do something with their account, we'll then track them forward, and when we see them go on to something like an Orbitz or a TripAdvisor, we'll have a banner come up and say, you know, with some sort of offer for them. If you're going to London, you know, you can use your card at this, you know, and we'll advertise hotels and restaurants predominantly, because we are focusing on the T&E sector.
So huge opportunities through some of the advancements in technologies, but from my perspective, big dangers as well. So you might have heard, if you caught the session from the chairman of the Low Pay Commission earlier on today, he was talking about the impact of national living wage leading to greater automation, and there was a picture in his slide of check-in kiosks, right? So if we assume that hotels have, based on what you said, have to take a bigger role in going back to the basics and delivering, you know, authentic, genuine service, connecting with emotions, then doesn't putting in check-in kiosks and reliance on that kind of automation at hotel level kind of pull the rug from under your feet a little bit?
So I would have said that was more of the mass market hotels, the lower end chains, if I'm not correct, and that's a pretty standard service that people are expecting.
You see that more predominantly, but not exclusively. And there's no, who's to say it doesn't spread? Payroll's payroll, margin's margin, right? If you're all looking for ways to maintain a margin, then that's one solution. I'm not advocating it, obviously. In my impartial role as moderator, I wouldn't have an opinion on that, but nonetheless, you know, you see it more and more, and it does, you know, from a purist perspective, from my perspective, the thing that you remember when you leave a hotel or a restaurant or whatever experience you're having is the experience. It's that memorable moment, it's that human connection. It's not necessarily all the design stuff around it might be a nice environment, all the rest of it. You tend to just remember one or two things, and those involve human relationships, right? I don't know how you can get excited about a kiosk.
But we have changed in airlines, and in airlines you're not doing check-in anymore. Has it taken value away from you, or it has added value? Do you really want to wait on the queue to go and check in, or do you want to have a boarding pass and hopefully a nice friendly face, say welcome on board, everything okay with you today, without having to do with the transaction?
Well, I'm asking the questions, right? I'll ask you.
How dare you?
You can take this chair if you like. I've had to do loads of prep here.
I was being polite. We can turn it around. There is no value added by an operational check-in where someone is looking to a screen. Say, hi, what's your name? Helena. Yes, I cannot find it. Where is it? Here it is. Yes, here is your key.
Yeah, I would argue that it doesn't have to be that way. Yeah. And I spend a lot of time short-haul European flights in economy, I might add. And it's a joyless experience for the most part. And it never used to be like that. It used to be quite romantic, even if it was just a short hop over the channel.
What airlines did you used to take?
It's a long time ago, to be fair, in another life.
Short hop life being romantic.
Varun,
next to you. Yeah?
So you wanted to add something before I stray off the point?
Yeah, actually, well, here's the thing. I mean, it's a fact that hospitality and tourism industry is one of the most technology-intensive industry. I mean, if you look around this hotel itself, they would be using several systems. I personally have worked with a lot of hoteliers and hotels, and that's one of my job, to make their life easy and more efficient. And we faced exactly same scenario with one of the property. I won't take the name, but here what we need to make sure is technology is great. There's no doubt about that. All of us has phones and everything. We have a BHA app where we can see the agenda right now, and we can know more about the speakers. So we don't have to carry any of those things. What we have to make sure is that we don't overcomplicate it. That's where the real deal is. Yes, it's good to have technology, but we do not overcomplicate it. Now, I'll give you an example of a hotel who had the same thing. So they say that we want to be more customer oriented. We want to make our customers' life very easy. What should we do? So the first thing that I ask them is, what kind of guests that you get into your hotel, whether they're corporate, leisure, and then they say that majority of our corporates, 1 or 2 nights stay, they are very busy, they want to leave, and that's kind of things. I said the first thing that you need to do is app. Why app? Because they don't have time. They're on the move most of the time, and they will appreciate if they have everything, all the information that they have on the phone, because most of them will be very, would be good with the phones and the apps. So now what happens for that very good hotel is, here's a scenario. Before the app, the guest used to land at Heathrow. He used to come to the hotel, stand in the queue for the check-in. Then after a few minutes, they used to get your key card, then go to the room, then order the food, and then they used to go for their meeting. Now what happens with that very same hotel is, the guest lands at Heathrow, checks in on the app. By the time he's on his way to the hotel, they can order food if they're hungry. They reach the hotel, the key is ready, they go to the room, the food is ready, and they go. Not even that, the concierge is also part of that app. They can book the theater, they can book sightseeing tour if they are with family, and it is so more convenient. So does this mean that they have ignored the other aspect of the business where the normal check-ins are going on? No. That still goes on, but this is an alternative. So people want it, they use it, and it is pretty successful with them.
So that's a good example of what should be a more integrated end-to-end customer journey. But if the big chains, particularly just now, and I guess I'm looking at Terry and Helena here, if the big chains are all focusing on a book direct message, okay, particularly to try and regain a bit of control over inventory, then that still remains quite combative relationship between accommodation provider and platform, particularly OTAs. But if we're trying to just give a more seamless experience end-to-end to the guest, how do you get the internet guys and the hotel guys particularly to play more nicely together and work together? How do you see that working?
I think it's looking at your entire portfolio of channels and finding the right optimum mix and almost using them as levers. What we struggle with some of the the larger global chains is that there are different silos. There's the distribution, team, sales team, the online, marketing team, and the brand team, those should all be and revenue management team, and those should all be talking to each other in terms of flexing price, flexing, whether or not we should be pushing that on the OTA, or whether we can actually more affordably push it through search or through another channel, through TripAdvisor, whatever it happens to be. And those need to be looked at as a portfolio with strong analytics behind it to say, this is the most profitable channel for us, thus we'll spend accordingly and balance it accordingly. Right. And analytics really allows that to happen. So I think demand management's really kind of the key trend here, and you mentioned big data, but the ability to integrate all of those systems together in the back end to be able to talk to each other so that you can optimally manage demand based on the supply, based on if you have soft occupancy or upsell opportunities, as you mentioned. Lots of potential here. And we haven't even talked about the meetings and event space, but that's a whole other area that is only now just starting to come online, where there's other opportunities to flex.
So Helena, what would you say? I mean, the distribution, the landscape is so complex. If you're a small independent hotel, for example, or a restaurant relying on a platform like TripAdvisor, and you hear this sort of message, you've got to understand analytics better, you've got to maximize and optimize your channel distribution. You can understand that you would have some of the independent operators scratching their heads and going, easy for you to say, with your scale and might behind you. How do these guys, in the face of rising commission charges, for example, work more effectively with a provider when they've seen that cost of sale rise so dramatically over recent years?
I think one of the key things they have to look at is what markets and what volume can they handle themselves. So let's say most of Europe, I say, maybe not France, Italy, and Spain, sorry, but most of Europe.
Except that
so that was a big chunk of Europe chucked out there. But if you can handle those markets, if you can't handle bookings coming in Chinese, if you can't handle bookings coming in Japanese, whatever languages they are, use those channels to get those bookings. But ensure you don't just freely give your whole availability to one or two providers, and then use channels, use channels like ourselves and other channels who allow free listings, but ensure that the content is there. So I think there's a good combination, but sometimes I do feel, and I'm not here to praise OTAs in any shape or form, but I think they also have their place, because someone who actually can serve your potential customers in 50 languages, which you yourself, we can't, but the OTAs can. There is something that you're paying for. It's not just that one booking, it's actually having that customer service in a specific language. Yeah. But I think it doesn't mean that you have to completely let loose and give your whole inventory away. But another thing, we talked about how hotels work, like the pre-booking. When people book, they're excited. I mean, we do a lot of research, and that's the most exciting period is searching and booking and then arriving. Yeah. And the fact is, we do Expedia, a lot of other platforms offer the hotels the whole direct Q&A opportunity, so that the hotels will get those questions. When we tested this and we talked to hoteliers, they didn't want it. I'm like, why don't you want it? Because this is your opportunity to have that chat. And when you talked about the concierge, like I said, it doesn't have to be two different people. The concierge is there. The volume isn't necessarily that massive. If it becomes massive, then you have to evaluate, is it big enough opportunity to serve it? And if it isn't, if you feel like your upsell or whatever you're doing to the channel isn't giving you the value, so you have to become quite brutal and picky on what you do.
Well, I mean, I can understand the reluctance. If the airlines back in the day had given the online travel agents the ability to offer specific seats to their guests, then they would be far more intermediated than they are now. So I can see the reticence in providing freer access to the heart of your business if you see it like that. But so on that topic, I guess we've got 5 minutes left. So, Professor.
Just one point. A lot of innovation is coming from small properties, from 1 or 2 or 3 kind of property little chains, where someone clever is bringing some technology, they're bringing some innovation, and they create value for the customers. Yeah. And an organization like Hilton, Intercontinental, and all the rest of it with several hundred properties, it's quite difficult to roll out the program for everybody. So a lot of the fantastic innovations based on technologies coming from smaller properties.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that, absolutely. But why don't we see what our audience think? Have we got any questions for the group, please? And again, just encourage you to be as provocative as possible, because they're primed and ready.
Let's go for it.
Any questions? There must be.
I think they're asleep.
Hello.
Oh, thank you, gentleman in the front. Brave soul.
I hope we don't put them to sleep.
I was going to say, did we do that?
I'm interested to know what your panel think about those who still book by telephone, and there are some, and what about the hotel's lack of diligence in getting data from them? For example, how did you hear about us? A question that I don't think is asked enough by hotels of people who book through means other than digital.
I love telephone. I love telephone. It's the most fantastic opportunity to upsell because it's a two-way. You cannot bargain online. Really difficult, especially when you're doing things in some Arabic countries. I did a lot of work in Egypt. You cannot bargain online. On the telephone you can bargain, you can upsell, you can understand why someone is coming. They can say it's the birthday of my daughter. You can sell them so much stuff that, you know, the upselling, the upgrades, they phenomenal.
I'll tell you another incident. Again, not overcomplicating things. There was this hotel and they have the center reservation office, and one very old lady called and she wanted to book the hotel. So the person who was taking up the call, she was very good. She explained everything. Here's a hotel very close to the station and all those things. And then it came to making the payment, So the person said that, okay, I'm going to send you a link. So please click on that link and input your credit card details. The lady says, I can just give you the credit card details on the phone. I'm fine. I can't click on the link. And can you imagine, she couldn't take that booking because that was the only secure way how to take the credit card details. And she lost that booking. So everyone is important. That's my point. So whenever you are rolling out anything, please keep in mind that you are not ignoring any specific section. So that's why it is really important to understand your customers. Very important. You might think it is amazing. Wow, it talks and it does everything. But maybe not for that person who might not like this whole thing, you know. So, and also another thing I want to add about the OTA thing and demand management is a very good point here. But the problem there is, first of all, I never recommend hotels to go against OTA. You should not go against OTA because they are important. Let's accept it. Yes, they take a lot of commission, but they are important. Demand management is a little difficult with the big OTAs because they have their teams. All they do day in and day out is they just check your availability on their competitor OTAs. So the moment you are available on Booking.com and you're not available on Expedia, you will get a call straight away from Expedia saying why you're not available on our website. So that is a big challenge that's there. And
sorry, carry on.
37% of hotels are booked online.
Yeah.
That's a small number.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to your point, there's a larger percentage, is done on the phone through GDS, through travel agents today. But that number is accelerating. So we're here talking about the future and the ability to own that data for the future.
On your point, why a hotel's been so slow to act on information like that, there has been a lot of pressure on the interaction between staff and guests in a hotel over the years as our marketing and brand teams have so thoughtfully asked us to make sure we ask the guests more and more stuff. So we got to a check-in process at one point that was 9 minutes long. No one's got time for that in this day and age. And I do think in that focus to try and streamline and make these interactions more efficient, we've lost some of the heart, some of the soul in it. So I think there's definitely room, given what you said and the proportion of direct bookings we still see from apparatus other than the internet, there's definitely some opportunity to take back a bit of that space. But I think we had we have one more question, I think, and then I think Ufi's signaling me, so then I think we're done, yeah? No, we can't. So you can. Sorry, can we get some volume? Is that possible in the mic?
I think it's not switched on.
Hello.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Hi, it's Anita Chadwick from Global Hospitality Services. I think Terry just actually answered half of my question. I was asking that is there any analysis being done or any statistical figures out there where you can break down how many bookings are being done online? So you just mentioned 37% of bookings are being done online. Are there other analyses being done, perhaps you have come across that, what factors are actually changing that, changing behavior, that people are choosing to book hotels through OTA a lot more than going through directly with the hotel, or choosing any other channels like calling directly, speaking to the hotels directly on the phone. Are there any kind of case study? What's driving? Is it the rate strategy, or do the consumer thinks they get better rates through OTA than they get directly with the hotels?
Plain and simple, it's been easier to book with an OTA. But yes, Focusrite and now Skift, I know as well. But Focusrite has done quite a bit of research around, and they do this globally, but also for Europe. So the number I stated was a European figure, and they have a forecasted figure as well in terms of that breakdown. But yeah, historically, it's because it's on, even what Stephen said, 9 steps to checkout, whereas now with Booking.com, it's really 1 to maybe 2 steps. You put your email address, you say, book. And in Europe, it's much more fragmented than it is in the US, where the global chains and the value of loyalty really predominate. So you tend to book with a hotel chain because you're loyal to that chain, where it's harder to here. And the OTAs have been able to play that loyal card a bit. So, whether it's hotels.com, 10, you get 1 free, or booking.com, or the kind of Genius program, those promote loyalty, and it's easier to book, then that's why people book there. So this is a pullback. The direct booking is a pullback to retain and regain ownership. The book direct through IHG's app and get a better rate is really smart, because that then gets the ownership of the customer data, because you're booking directly through IHG, through the app. And more and more like that will happen. But the question is, how many loyalty programs are you going to sign up for? Because then it starts to devalue the loyalty programs. But now that's right.
So room for everyone, but room for a little more balance, if I can sum that up badly. Ladies and gentlemen, we're out of time, I'm afraid. Please join me, thank our panellists for their time. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much. I think we're done.